Hey everyone, what's up? It's your girl Petraa here representing for Highway 6 to Africa on Love Bay Radio. It's another wonderful, fantastic Saturday afternoon. You're here with your girl Petraa. I'm joined with Ron Malinga and TyB. And we also have a special guest as well, Tracy Lee. So it's a pleasure to see you guys, or talk to you guys and share with you guys as well. So I want to start off by saying, hey, what's up, Ron? How's everything been, Ron? How was your week?
Petra, my week has been going great. Still have lots of snow in my area on the northern end of Vancouver Island. However, it is a beautiful sunny day, still really chilly, but I have no complaints about that. I was able to get out on my bike and ride today, so that's nice. Nice way of getting out and not having to ride in the snow. So I have no complaints. Nobody would listen anyway, so there's no sense in me complaining.
That's okay. I know you're not really used to getting much snow down there, are you, in Vancouver Island?
No, there's not a lot. We're lucky if we even see this, but this has stuck around for at least, since last week, actually. So, yeah, it's unusual, but it's a nice change.
For sure. I will mention something about that, actually, but we're going to get to TyB. TyB, how are you? How was your week? What's going on?
I'm upset.
Why? What
because
did you do, TyB?
Yeah, because Ron is wearing a Vancouver I'm really, really upset.
Wow. Ron.
Yeah.
It's for the Vancouver Canucks because the Vancouver Canucks play Toronto tonight in Vancouver.
The week has been great. I can't say anything bad about it. But for the weather, well, what can we say? It's a sign of the times. They call something climate change and stuff like that. Well, whatever my opinion is, it's up to me. But the weather hasn't been fair to me and to everybody out here. But other than that, I'm so glad that I'm alive.
Yes.
Because not a lot of people have been so lucky. As we speak right now, somebody is gasping for the last breath. And here I am. You know what? So I thank God I'm here. I'm so excited today. As we always say, or as I always say, that around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when we are coming on this program, I'm so excited because we have the best of the best to have conversations with.
Exactly, and it's phenomenal. Every single week, or pretty much every single week, we have somebody representing the music, some for just representing, and just their talents, their gift, their creativity to the world, and it's a pleasure to host them on Love Bay Radio on Highway 6 to Africa. So I do want to mention a little bit about the weather because I heard they actually got 6 feet of snow in Japan. Did you guys hear about that?
Wow.
No kidding.
Yeah, they did in a 12-hour period. So, yeah, they're definitely feeling it. It's not just Canada. They were saying they got more snow in Japan than they did in Canada.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. So just shout out to all our Japanese listeners right now. Hope you guys are staying safe, staying warm. I hope the snow stopped. It's just... What are you guys' thoughts? Like, the weather is just so crazy. Like, in one part of the world, we're having fires. The other part, we're having snow in places that we're not used to having snow. Like,
look at Florida. Florida has snow.
I know.
That's very unusual. Same thing with, I think, South Carolina. That area has had a fair amount of snow by comparison to us.
No kidding.
So, yeah. What's
going on, man?
Yeah, and then California on the other end is burning up with fires.
That's what I'm saying. TyB is gonna know when he gets a report that there's been snow in Ghana.
Oh, please don't go there. They'll be running for cover. I don't know. They'll be running for cover. Sometimes they get. Sometimes we get hailstones. Oh, you see people, with buckets, going around and then just picking it up and then putting them in their mouth. Oh, it's ice. And if you want ice, you come in here because we have ice cream all over the place. White ice cream.
Exactly.
That's right.
It's so much. I was leaving the gym, like my hands are just warm now. I literally got frostbite just from like
Mhm.
being outside. I'm like, but
Mhm.
like you said,
Mhm.
we're thankful for life, and
Right.
springtime will soon be here. So
Mhm. Woo-hoo-hoo.
exactly.
That's right.
So yeah,
Mhm.
so we're really excited today. We actually have a special guest on the show today. So I'm really happy and
Good
honored
afternoon, everybody.
to introduce
Mhm.
Tracy Lee. How are you, Tracy?
I am good. I'm listening to all of the weather patterns there, and I'm like, okay, I'm in my house. I'm safe. I'm warm. I'm good. I'm very
Ex-
good
And where are you, Tracy?
in Guelph, Ontario.
Okay.
Oh.
So we're,
Oh.
Nice.
you know, not in a different weather pattern than a lot of times when you're going to Hamilton to Guelph, you'll see a whole different weather pattern. It's like you're not in Kansas anymore. So I can understand that quick change of weather because that's where I used to work. Actually, was in Hamilton. So driving from one to the next, it's crazy.
Ah. Is it not in the snow belt? So they say.
Yes,
Ah,
yes.
okay.
And
Wow.
when I first moved here, it was summertime, and I didn't also know that it was also a tornado alley, and I got to experience a tornado as well. So, yay,
Wow.
Guelph
You
Jeez.
really
was
are
not
Dorothy
fun.
in Kansas.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Deals together 3 times. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here.
That's
That's
right.
just how it goes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
sure. And do you have a lot of snow up there where you are in Guelph?
We have a fair amount, nothing like Japan, but
I know.
enough to know that it's wintertime. My
Yeah,
husband
yeah.
loves to ski, so he enjoys all of this, and I like to chalet. So, you know, I'm a good
Fireplace, hot
chalayer.
chocolate. Yay.
You
That's
got it.
right.
A
Yeah.
supporter of your husband.
Yes, yes.
Hey,
I mean,
honey.
I've tried to cross country ski, and I'm still going to try it one more time, but he just goes on without me, and I'm still back there doing my little tiny pushes, but I know it's good for me, so that's why I do it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. It's good for
Exactly.
me.
At your own pace. Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
That's all we
Mhm.
could do. So yeah, it's definitely an honor to have you on the show today, Tracy. And we have some exciting things to discuss with you. And I'd love to
Mhm.
start by asking you my signature question, just so our listeners all over the world, tuning in online, also listening in. Can you just share with our listeners who is Tracy Lee?
Who is Tracy Lee? I asked that question many times to myself, but
Mm,
I'm a fifth generation Black Canadian, born in Brantford, Ontario, and I have been on stage singing since the age of 3 because in my family, if you breathe, you sing. So it's just one of those things you do. And born and raised in Brantford. That was it. I then moved to the Hamilton area, went to school there, and then later on ended up staying or moving to Guelph. And I currently work as a bank manager at a credit union. I love that credit union to death. But other than that, Tracy is one of those children that always wanted to know more. I was a
mm-hmm.
little mean, I'm not going to lie, because it was always like, what's next? Hey, mom, where can I go? What can I do? And over the years, it's just turned my passion now into my purpose. And I am so blessed to have my ancestors that I can look to. They're my legacy, and I get to learn more about them. And not only that, now I get to share about them. That's my path. That's my purpose right there. I'm so
Exactly.
thrilled.
I love that. We know you have a show coming up as well, but before we get to that, that's really amazing. Just kind of sharing how long you've been in the music, I mean, 3 years
Mhm.
old. And were you nervous? Like, did you like what was your
Always.
journey like, your musical journey, from when you first
Uh,
started to like,
from when I first started, of course, we were, that was you're in the family choir or the church choir. You move from the church choir my sister, my family used to sing as a Winston Johnson family singers with gospel group. And we went basically Southern Ontario. My sister, who's Karen Burke of the Toronto Mass Choir now, if you've ever heard of Toronto Mass Choir, that's my sister. And then we've got my sister and I, after our families split up or stopped touring, I should say, we then started doing little coffee houses around universities. And that was fun, a little bit of fun there. And then my sister kept doing her choir, and I started just to do small things at churches. And then I got into musical theater, and I was hooked. I was, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I've been blessed enough to do a lot of community theaters, but doing front roles as Motormouth Mabel in Chicago. I mean, not in Chicago, in Hairspray. I've got. I've done. What's the other one? Aida. I was Aida, so I had the main part. And what's that other one from Chicago? Yes. Mama Matron Morton. Yes, that was my first. So I've had a lot of, those are some of my highlight moments, but I've played in many different types of theaters. And then this song, working with jazz, it just started to happen. Jazz is my genre that I just love. I love the standards, and I just love breathing life into songs. It is just my passion. I remember when I was growing up, my grandmother would always say, Tracy, you got to let them show it on your face what you're singing about.
Yeah.
You can't be singing there going, I'm so glad Jesus loved me. Because your face is saying that you're glad, honey. You need to tell people what you're singing about. And then one of my aunts, she started on me saying, now, Tracy, you need to talk more about what you're singing about. And I was waiting. I was like, I can't do that. Nobody's going to want to listen to me, Auntie. Well, that's not true. A lot of people wanted to hear what I was singing about. And I guess the way that I bring it to people, they feel what I'm singing. They understand a little bit more about what the emotions were put into these songs. And so here I am now continuing singing, but bringing a little bit more of my purpose in with my singing.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. Ron?
Hey, Tracy. We were talking a little bit. Actually, I did my first 4 years of university for jazz. That's where that's my area for. I just love jazz. So I'm with you there in heart and soul. Before we got on the air, you were talking about you did a presentation with for some grades 6, 7s, and 8s. Now, was this a talking, a singing? How are you presenting it, and what were you discussing when you were doing this? I know it has something to do with Black Canadian history, I believe.
You got
it. Maybe you could give us some insight on that.
So my presentation is called "And Then What Happened," because everybody knows the story. We were enslaved. We came from Africa to the United States. We were treated terribly. And then we made our way by the Underground Railroad, by hook or crook, we came to Canada. And then that's all they know about it. Nobody knows anything about Black Canadians. We're not in the history books. We're not talked about in schools. But we're here. I'm 5th generation on both sides of my family. And we've done a lot for Canada. Some things I didn't know about because it wasn't really taught. But my husband started to look through my ancestry and started to really look through the archives and the census. And it was like, Tracy, do you know how much your family has actually done in Ontario? Do you have any idea? I was, no, not really. I know there's a few things, but he started to dig a little bit more. And then I started to dig a little bit more. And the next thing I know, I have a presentation that is now through many different boards of education called "And Then What Happened." My age brackets, I usually go from grade 4 to grade 8 is one type of presentation. Then high school, grade 9 to 12 is another one. It's a little bit more information. But I also do universities, corporations, um, historical societies, theaters, libraries, and it really just talks about and then what happened. What happened with when the black what happened to the black communities? There were many black communities and settlements in Ontario that nobody has any idea about. And I'm lucky enough to be able to start to talk about three of my ancestors in particular. One was a runaway, one actually purchased his freedom, and the other one was willed into his freedom. And I bring those stories that have been, we fact check our things so many times, but I have historians, genealogists, my husband, we check through newspapers just to make sure that these stories are true. And my job, what I call, is putting the flesh on the bones, making these people come to life. And the students, I'm telling you, the last one I had just said, they're always engaged with whatever I'm doing, which is, I'm very thankful for that, because it's not taught. They have no idea what I'm talking about. And they're not all good stories. It's not all happy, I also start my presentations talking about Africa, because the narrative is so negative. They don't hear all of the good things about Africa. And that is my place to start to talk about that. Because somebody told me once that they think that all Black people were slaves, originated as slaves. And I was shocked. But, I had to make sure in my presentations, I start out talking about Africa, about the many things, the natural resources, the cultures, the people, and then letting them know where my ancestry is from and where I've originated from. And then we move into something else and we talk about the journey of my ancestors from Africa to America. We talk about how they were taken and stripped of their dignity, their culture, their humanity. And when I'm starting to talk to them piece by piece, I bring back their culture, I bring back their dignity, and I bring back their humanity. And that's what I need the students or whoever is listening to me to understand, that this journey didn't stop just at the border. It continued. And then I talk about the communities that were in Ontario, that are still in Ontario, and where to look for them. And then what happened continues throughout the whole presentation. And it's interactive as well. I get them to give me, we sing songs. Of course, I have to sing in my presentations. Of course, I have to sing in my presentations. I sing a Negro spiritual usually, and then I have them learn a Negro spiritual as well. And they're just engaged. They just want to know, and then what happened. So that's my presentation. I love it. People still are trying to book me in February. I don't know why. Because this is Canadian history. It's Black Canadian history, but it's Canadian history, period. And the schools are starting to figure this out and are starting to book me outside of February, which is fabulous. Because you have to understand, I know that we have our month, but it's more than a month. This is Canadian history.
Exactly.
You mentioned about everybody feeling that Blacks were always slaves. Can you think of any other, before I pass you over to TyB, I'm going to ask, can you think of any other misconceptions we have of Canadian Black history other than us feeling that everybody came over as a slave? What other misconceptions do you think there are?
Too many to mention. That we know everybody, we all know each other. Like that. So I'm understanding, born and raised in Brantford. Everybody would ask me, like, this person, right? This Black person, are you related to this person? Or wanting to know if, my family, yes, we do, is, don't you sing? Doesn't everybody sing? I thought that you all sang. Didn't you all sing? Nope, there's some that don't sing or dance. It's not like that. I had somebody tell me, you speak very well. I'm like, for what? because yeah, I thank you. I think they compliment in there. Um, it's amazing though. It's the stereotype of blacks. It still exists, unfortunately, in Canada too. It's gotten a little better. I'm not going to lie, but there's certain things that they just think that we all do, and it's not true.
Yeah, fair enough. TYB, go ahead.
Yeah, Tracy, it's great to have you. I'll pick on what you said about the fact that everybody thinks that blacks, came on slave ships and stuff like that. We have a segment. We have something that we play most times or sometimes about a discussion about the fact that if you look at the wind patterns, right, not every other black person was put onto the slave ships, and this African American who is convincing that the wind patterns also, because they were on the seas for a long time, the wind patterns could also have brought a lot of black people into North America, because if you look at the basin there. So, you know what, it's so fascinating how they discuss all these things, but that's just even something that I just wanted to drop it in there, but it's so interesting. My question to you is like, when you were singing with your sisters, how did it feel like from that point to the point where you broke up? Like how was it?
Well, not having that family bond is like, that's my only sister, and we pretty much did everything together. So it was learning to just be yourself. But I think even more for myself was I had a major car accident in 1998 where the discs of my jaws were displaced. And I could only open my mouth up like this much. And the wider I opened it up, it would pop, like my jaws would pop. So I had to have surgery. And it is not until 1998 did I really understand how much singing meant to me, because I couldn't. And I've never taken it for granted since then, because while I know this is a God-given talent, I know I need to be able to express myself, my creativity in a certain way. And without being able to sing, I was watching one of the church cantatas that I was always in and just sitting there crying because I couldn't express myself the way that I would normally express myself. Other people were able to do it and I wasn't able to do it. So I had the surgery, and from there on, I was like, okay, that will never happen again. I will never take that for granted. So anytime my sister and I ever got a chance to sing together, or my family got a chance to sing together, we actually came back together. Oh, I can't remember what year it was, but it was definitely in the 2000s. As we called ourselves generations, because my sister had children by then. I had children by then. And we brought them all back to my parents' church, home church. And we got to be up there singing. Now, my boys don't really sing, but one played the drums and the other one shook the maracas really well. But it
all
was
in the
one of
family.
those, it's like yo, no, you're here. You're going to do something musical. That's how it rolls.
Wholesome.
You know that kind of feeling, right? It's or you. I remember though they would say, "Oh, get up and dance," like family in the family, and you always had to do a little dance and whatnot. But singing is one of those things that we take for granted in our family, because everybody sings in some form or fashion. And another example of everybody sings. So in my home church, when I was younger, was the British Methodist Episcopal Church, which was a BME church. We're located all through Southern Ontario, and those churches were basically one of the last terminus for when the people were coming up through the Underground Railroad, or runaways were coming in. And those churches are based, like you can see exactly where they're posted, and that's where people did go for solace. Well, in my church in Brantford, it was basically family, usually only family. And the pastor would be up there and he was singing, and then he would say, okay, we're going to have the choir come up and give a song. And the choir would come up, and there would be my grandfather in the pews left, because my grandmother played the organ, my other grandma played the organ, my sister, my cousins, we were the choir. So we ended up singing to an audience of one, but that's because our whole family sang.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
It was always
it's
fun.
the your name caught me. Just when I saw the name, I said, well, the name rings a bell. So it told me that. By the way, we've dedicated a portion of the times that we congregate here for Canadian artists, right?
That's
So
good.
when your name popped up, I said, let us see whether we can get her here. When here we are, you explaining and then giving us some educational tour. We haven't even gotten to where we want to go yet. But another question that I would like to ask is, what gives you that motivation to go on, apart from the fact that you went through what you had to go through? Because if you hadn't mentioned the fact that you had surgery, I wouldn't be able to know that, because God wanted you to do what you were doing. That's why you are alive and singing and making people laugh. What gives you that motivation?
That I'm going to say is from my parents, for sure. When we were younger, we always got, my parents, in fact, they were actually the first Black teachers in Brant County. My mom in 1966 and my dad in 1969. So having that type of role model was huge in our family. When you have teachers as parents, you always get to learn a lesson or two, no matter what.
Ooh, that's fun here.
Why you're turning the tap on that way? Let me tell you why. If you're turning the tap on that way, it's the wrong way. Or it's just everything is a lesson. But the 3 lessons that my parents taught my sister and I, it stuck with us till this very day. A, first of all, good manners. B, do your best. And for my parents, that meant do 120% better than your white peers. That's the only way you're going to excel. And then also integrity. Doing the right thing when nobody's watching, because trust me, they are watching you. You stand out. You're going to stand out no matter what, Tracy. So why not stand out for something positive? And those are the things that they kept on motivating us. They didn't tell us a lot of the life stories that they had gone through. I had to pry them out of my father. By the time, I think I was like in my 50s, and I finally got him to start to talk about his life being in Brantford or just being Black in Canada. It took a lot to get him to open up. And his motivation behind that was because he didn't want to burden us with all of the struggles that they went through. Didn't want us to use it as a crutch to say, oh, it's because I'm Black. That's why it's happening. We would never be allowed to say that. We always had to go above and beyond that comment. And they just are great role models. And that not just to us. Oh my gosh. There are so many students that they have touched in the Brantford area. It's amazing to see. Some of them now, my parents are still alive. They're 83.
Wow.
And they still have students that come up and want to help them while they're at their house. I'll shovel your driveway. Don't worry. I'll come and do your grass. Don't worry. It's just amazing. So that definitely motivated me just to keep on going, because I watched what they did and what they had to go through. And that just made me realize, I don't have it that bad, especially when I started to hear the stories of their.
Petraa. Yeah, Petraa.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for sharing that, Tracy. Wow, I can only imagine, I mean, I'm from England originally. I'm like second generation British because both my parents were born in England. So I kind of have an idea of, just kind of understanding that story of growing up in a country that, like for me, although like ancestrally I'm not from England, but I do have experiences that kind of make me feel conflicted sometimes, knowing that I'm born somewhere, but I'm not from there.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
reason I say that, I wanted to ask you, moving on to my next question, like, how has your views of race changed over the time? Just being fifth generation Black Canadian and
Mm-hmm.
seeing how things and times have developed and changed over time, from the experiences that you experienced as a child, things you've heard your
Mm-hmm.
parents go through, to the way things are now in Canada.
I, being in Brantford, being there are very few blacks at the time, I remember still to this very day being chased home, spit on, rocks thrown at us, being called derogatory names. And the strangest to me, it's because it's not that long ago. I,
Mm.
it's living history that I am feeling. When I remember going to my mother when I was 7 years old and saying, "Why did God make me black?
Mm.
I do not. I don't like being black, Mom." And because there was nobody like me. There was nobody in my schools that were like me, and the kids made fun of me. And so I put on the long towel and long swinging hair and anything to not be black is where I was at when I was younger. Um, I learned also that fighting isn't the way to go about it. You can be so much smarter with your mouth than with your fists. So
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn that as well. But then over time, a few more blacks came in the area. But my parents actually started a youth group, and
Mm.
all of the youth were black. So I was able then to start to relate to them more, and some of the cultures, because nobody was Canadian. They were from everywhere else but Canada. But I got to learn different cultures than my own culture and start to understand things a little bit more about who I was, and got stronger in it. But what I really, really wish would have happened is that somebody like me would have come in my school and talked to me about Black Canadian history.
Mm-hmm.
Because once I started uncovering all of these things, I realized that I belong here. I really do belong here.
Mm-hmm.
And bit by bit, Ontario is starting to realize that we've missed the mark. We truly have missed the mark on this. I was lucky enough to also have the Discovery Channel reach out to me, and they did a
Amazing.
documentary. Yeah, they did a documentary called The Underground Railroad, The Secret History. And they
Mm-hmm.
knew what I was doing, and they ended up asking me if my sons and I would go on this journey to the actual land that my third great grandfather cleared and cultivated.
Oh
And
wow.
we're like,
Hmm.
yeah, talk
Mm-hmm.
about like an emotional day.
Yeah.
We had to have special permission to go on this farmer's land.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to be right where he was. And then they
Mm-hmm.
took us to where the headstones are, because these days, that's the only way people know about our settlements is by the
Mm-hmm.
headstones.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, it really made me question myself. Well, and then what happened? Like, where did they all go? What
Mm-hmm.
happened to? There was in this area, it was the largest Black population in Canada at the time. And I don't know if anybody knows Elmira or St.
Yeah,
Jacobs.
yeah.
Okay. That was called the Queensbush Settlement. And this
Mm.
is stuff that people we do not know about. And it was a
Mm-hmm.
flourishing area. Like 1,500 to 1,800 Blacks lived in this area.
Oh wow.
And by 1943, the government came in, they surveyed the land, and they gave them terms that there was no way that they were ever going to be able to fulfill, because a lot of them didn't read nor write. So they were
Mm.
trusting. And my grandfather cleared almost 20 acres of land and was never able to purchase his land because of these corrupt agents.
Wow.
And that's like, it just keeps evolving. And I find more about this. And had I known that information when I was a little girl,
Mm.
I could have been, being more proud of who my ancestors were, but I didn't know what they had done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even I went to London's Fanshawe College, Pioneer Village,
Mm-hmm.
and they have just recently taken what they call the old slave church, and they put it now on Pioneer Village's land. They've restored it. It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember as a little girl going to the Pioneer Village and seeing, white people churning butter and white people doing this and white people do, and that's what I thought was what Canadian history looked like. Nobody told me that Black pioneers actually helped clear and develop land. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I always thought when they talk about Canadian pioneers, I would think of Laura, what's that, Little House on the Prairie, and Laura Ingalls.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I thought, that's who they were. But that's what we were presented with.
Mm-hmm.
So now I wish I could tell little Tracy, no, your people were strong here. They developed this area. Right? My first ancestor was here in 1806.
Oh, wow.
Before Canada became a country.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this information, we just didn't have all of the information for us to know the contributions of our people here on Canada. And a lot of people have no idea. I have so many more examples that I'm so proud of. And now I can go into classrooms or whoever, wherever, and talk about this group of people that I don't know if I could do all the things they did. I sometimes question myself.
Mm-hmm.
I worry about going from my heated house to my heated car to my heated office and then reverse. It's incredible. So, yes, my views have definitely changed from it was really, really hard, really, really hard. Yes, it's still hard. Don't get me wrong. We have a way to go. But now I'm so proud. And I've actually even had the experience of where I've gone into a classroom or into a school and I've spoken, and the principal is coming to me afterwards and saying, you know what, because you gave this little girl a positive platform, she came in and talked about her ancestors. She's such a quiet student, right? She's came in, she's proud now. She's so proud and talking about her ancestors and where they came and what they did. And I have so many of those little tidbits, but the kids are coming back to. So now I know I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm doing the right thing because they're starting to feel the same way I did.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm giving them that platform to be able to be proud of their own ancestry as well.
Yeah.
Majorly.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic, Tracy. That's so wonderful. It warms my heart, and you said that you wish that when you were like a little girl, there was someone that can come into your classroom, but now you're that person, and there's lots of little Tracys who are being inspired by your presence there, and it can continue that same legacy that there'll be more and more people speaking about their ancestors, about all the wonderful contributions Black people have done within Canada. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's amazing for that. And it's funny that you say that because I can connect that to my growing up, in England, up until the age of 10, I only thought that Black people were slaves, and it's because my mom took a Black history course, and she did the course, but I don't think she completed the course, but my grandma would always say to me, go read a book, go read a book. So I went up into the attic and I found like all my mom's old Black history textbooks. And I'm like reading all of these books. And where I come from in England is a place called Leeds in the countryside, So there's a West Indian community, but it's pretty small, right? Bigger now, But it was until I got that knowledge. I didn't really know anything about my ancestors or my culture or my history, but just knowing that empowered me, So
Exactly.
it's just, yeah. So what you're doing, you're definitely inspiring, and you just, inspiring a new generation that with information, knowledge that they're never going to forget. It's going to help to shape them into great people of this world that, that will be proud of themselves, the contribution that they made.
That's all I can hope for. I always end with a quote to my classes of, your legacy is history for generations to come. So what will people remember you for? I don't know what it will be. Maybe you have just the greatest sense of humor and you become one of the famous comedians out there, or maybe it's that you're a mathematician and you create something that's going to cure the world. I don't know. But whatever it is, make it positive. Please. Make people remember you for the positive things that you leave here on planet Earth, or in your school, or in your neighborhood, or in your family. Just make it positive. Because those 3 things that I talked about earlier, what my parents gave me, those lessons, what I realized is that my parents were saying, you have those 3 things because people are going to judge me for 2 reasons before I even open my mouth. A, I'm Black, and B, I'm a woman. So I have 2 marks against me before I even start to speak. So my parents were always saying those 3 things behind you, so they can judge you and people can talk about you behind your back. But once they figure out who you are and what you stand for, there's no way they can knock you down. They can try. But once they start to dig, they'll see who you are. And always remember that. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So it's always that's just stuck with my sister and I for sure. That's just our lessons. I mean, there's lessons. I'm not perfect by any means of it. I get mad. There's situations that, woo, I just like, woo, I can't fix stupid sometimes, so I don't try.
Yeah, exactly.
The ignorant remarks you get. There's lessons. Not perfect by any means.
Exactly.
I get mad. I had somebody ask me, oh no, they didn't. They were serving. He said at the very end, thank you. What did he say? Oh, thank you so much, your cotton picking heart.
Wow. Did I say I picked cotton?
And all I said to him afterwards was, oh, I'm so glad that we don't have to anymore, with a smile. And he was like, oh. So yeah, it's just sometimes you pick your battles. Which ones? Somebody had also said to me, they were older than me, so I was respectful for them, an older white lady. And she says, when I was growing up, there was no racism at all.
Wow.
Oh, I'm just going to go over here now. I'm going to leave. Yeah. And yeah, that's her experience. Okay. That's because she's white. It's probably good that is your experience. But I wish you could be in my shoes just for, I don't know, you don't have to be in our shoes for very long before you feel it or see it or hear it. But, I'm just glad now people it's starting to move and they're starting to listen a lot more than at least I think that they're starting to listen a lot more. I wouldn't be in the schools if they didn't start wanting to listen or learn more. Yes. And especially outside of February. Those are the schools that they're not just ticking the boxes, right? They're making sure that this story is heard outside of February, which it needs to be. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not 1 month, it's 365 days,
365 days. That's right.
Exactly. But speaking about February, I know that tomorrow you do have an event tomorrow.
Yes, I am so excited. So my presentations of And Then What Happened has morphed into this wonderful theater project that I've created. and it's called "I Sing Because I'm Free." And that line does come from "His Eye is on the Sparrow," but
Mm-hmm. I love that song.
I sing because I'm free because of what my ancestors did.
Mm-hmm.
I am free because of what my ancestors had to go through, their resilience, their tenacity, all of those things. And not just my ancestors, many, many, many freedom seekers and people that have gone through, people that didn't even make it off of the plantation. There was way too many people that died from either from the ship, on the plantations. And I want to hear, let their stories be heard. But now I'm doing it through music and more.
Mm-hmm.
So I am taking 5 genres. I'm starting off with Negro spirituals, moving into gospel music, then moving into the blues, going into jazz, and then ending up with the civil rights movement music. And my ancestors have all had a little, I know I can, these are things I know that I can talk about because from a musical standpoint, because a lot of my ancestors have been doing a lot of musical things during these genres. And now I get to give people, when we're starting off with Negro spirituals, a lot of people do not know the codes in these songs. They don't even
Mm.
know, they don't even know it's a Negro spiritual. They have no idea who created the song. Um,
Mm-hmm.
one of the songs that will be in there, I'm going to be doing a little bit of Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
Mm-hmm.
And people do not know the code words, which fascinates me. And they think it's a gospel song that's, a hymn from church. And I get to enlighten them what the codes really mean.
Mm.
I it, I had one gentleman, I was speaking at a historical society, and he came up and said, "Tracy, I have sang that song at church so many times, but now that I know the real meaning of the words, I'm going to sing it with so much more gusto." And yeah, and really understand. And I said, "That's good. I'm glad that you learned something from this presentation."
You gotta
But
share the
then
codes, Tracy.
oh, you got to come to the show if you want to know. I'm just
I like that.
I'll give a couple of the codes. So when they sing "Swing Down, Sweet Chariot," so swing down means to come to the southern states
Oh
or
wow.
come to the northern free states.
Mm.
The chariot is the Underground Railroad.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh
And
wow.
when they say, I look over Jordan and what do I see? A band of angels coming after me. Well,
Mm.
they're talking about the workers on the Underground Railroad. Those are
Yeah,
our
yeah, yeah.
angels.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And when they say the looked over Jordan, they have to use those codes for a biblical river, but they're actually
Mm-hmm.
talking about the Ohio River or the Mississippi River, because
Mm-hmm.
especially the Ohio River is narrow enough in some areas or shallow enough for them to walk or swim over. So that river was used a lot for freedom.
Oh wow.
So those are just one of the songs that has lots of meaning codes. And then when you start to sing the next verse, if you get there before I do, tell them I'm coming too. They're not talking about heaven. They're talking about freedom to Canada or to the northern states.
Mm-hmm,
Please
mm-hmm.
come. And that's what those songs mean. So that's just a tip on the one song, which is great. And then we move to from that to gospel music. And as I kind of alluded to earlier, my sister happens to be the director and founder of the Toronto Mass Choir. So I get to get information from them. They're the gospel. She is the gospel guru, which we want to call it for Canada right now. And I'm so blessed to be able to speak to her and get some of the music. And we're going to be doing one of their songs, the Toronto Mass Choir songs.
Beautiful.
We we also get to move then into jazz music. The blues, and how it's just basically that each phase that I've chosen, it builds on the foundation of the last genre. A lot of music started off with Negro spirituals, but people do not know that. Rock and roll you can trace it back to gospel music. The way that the movement is, the patterns are, the notes that they use, it's from gospel music. People don't understand that either. So definitely, to be able with this show, I'm trying to show like survival. You can see survival to self-expression. And then it moved from their own personal struggles to a collective struggle in the civil rights music. And hopefully everybody will leave from this place knowing a little bit more about the music, feeling the music, basically being encouraged. They'll be enlightened and hopefully empowered to start digging more about the music and what it means and how it transforms people. Because I know you, Petraa, would for sure know this, how music can capture people and bring people together. Like, it's just one of those languages you would know. Everybody, I think, on this stage will know that. It's one of those things that brings people together. And I can capture the students' attention more about when me coming in and starting to sing, and they're all of a sudden like, now they're alert. Now they want to know what's going to happen next. Where we're going to go. So tomorrow will be a special day. I'm so thankful for the registry for saying, you know what, we would love this to be a concert. What you do with your shows, can you make it a concert kind of a feeling where the songs will just continue to flow? You'll have some information about my ancestors in there, of course, but it's going to be one of those shows where hopefully people will really just embrace what I'm trying to say as I continue to breathe life into my music. And I am so excited about it. And I have a live band on top of it.
Nice.
A live band. My nephew is going to be the piano player going to be in there, and my niece is also going to be singing in there as well with me, helping me out in parts. So again, bringing my family into this blend, I think it's going to be a special time, and I hope everybody gets the chance to be there. It should be good. That's all I know.
It's gonna be good. Ron?
Hey, Tracy, have you ever written or performed music specifically inspired by your family's history?
Have I ever written? Did you say?
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
No. I wish maybe one day I will. But I'm a singer. I'm definitely a singer. There are songs though that do have more meaning for me because of my family's history. One of those songs is "Wade in the Water." Now, my mother used to sing that. My mother's an amazing singer, and she used to sing that around. But personally, as a child, I didn't quite understand the stories, what that actually meant. That again has a lot of codes in it, and one of those codes, yes, I'll tell you what the code is. The code for "Wade in the Water," like the actual "Wade in the Water." When the enslaved or freedom seekers were actually escaping, one of the routes that they would always use is usually go by the water side, the riverside. And the reason why is because when they were running, not only were the owners coming after them, but they had dogs. And these dogs' sense of smell was impeccable. So you actually had to wade in the water to have some of your scent taking off from you. And, people say, well, are you sure that that's true? Was that really what it was? Well, I was lucky enough to have an ancestor, the one that came over in 1806. And in 1885, he had an interview with the Globe paper. And he talked about his time being enslaved. He talked about his time running. He talked about his time being free. And when he was talking about his time running, he actually talked about having to wade into the water and holding on to a reed until the dogs passed by. And he was lucky enough that a flock of sheep happened to be close enough, and the dogs took the sheep scent and went after the sheep instead. So that's why that song has a deeper meaning to me, because I know that's exactly what they had to do. Another quote in that song, it says, "Look at that band all dressed in red. Must be the band that Moses led." And that quote in there was talking about Harriet Tubman. Her nickname was Moses, was Black Moses. And
Wow.
so you knew, if you heard that song being sung on the plantation, you knew that two things: somebody's planning to escape, and it was either Harriet or it would be one of her agents coming to help free them. So again, these songs are deep. There's many of them that mean a lot to me, but The Wade in the Water for sure has a really a connection, a family connection, of course, for me.
Tracy, can I ask, as you're well aware of I'm sure from being in schools, that the Truth and Reconciliation Accord was put into place into schools, and it's now required by law that schools, public schools, teach about the history of the First Nations, and rightly so, or Indigenous people. Are you hoping that this will happen for Blacks, and do you see a need for this? What's your feeling on that?
Well, I have great news for the curriculum for 2025.
Whose
It is
curriculum?
mandatory for grades 7, 8, and 10 to have Black Canadian history.
Is that in
up
Ontario?
Awesome.
Because
in Ontario.
It's in Ontario.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
It is time. I mean, there's a lot of people that have done some amazing work before me that have been really pushing this to happen. And it's happening. It is really happening. So I'm going to be very busy coming up. I know that much. Because I'm one of the few out there that do speak about it, but also probably one of the only that actually are descendants of these people that speak and sing and talk about it. So
Wow.
when I told my parents, they were over the moon, because as educators, they're like, it's time to know the whole history of Canada, like the whole history. Not what we read in history books, because, history books are written by conquerors. It's now time, finally, that we're going to have our voices heard. Yay. So to that, Ron, yay. Is it time? Yes.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm sure. I know First Nation said the same thing. We're overdue. So.
Oh yeah.
Here's TyB.
Yeah, Tracy, what an incredible time with you. You say you're going to be performing at the Registry Theater. Where is the registry for those listeners and viewers
No,
out there?
so the Registry Theater is in Kitchener. The presentation is at 3:00. If you are planning to come and get your tickets at the door, you might not get in. So it would be good if you went to the registrytheater.com right now and plan to get your tickets, because people are wanting to know, and it's time for people to know. And then we're going to celebrate. We're going to have a good time celebrating the music from throughout these genres that we've had here. It's going to be one of those type of things where you're just I really hope that you enjoy yourselves. I think you will enjoy yourselves. I probably even get you singing with me, because that's what choirs do.
Yeah.
So, are you planning on bringing it to Toronto, or are you planning on touring Canada with?
I would love to. We're going to get thrust this one stone here right now. If it's anything like my other presentations, it'll continue. It'll continue going on and evolving as it goes along. I know it will continue to evolve no matter what. But we have a good base right now, and I am so proud of like I said, the musicians that we're going to be having there, and the people that have already put in the time to really help me make these stories come to life. I thank them so much for that. Because it takes a village to bring this together, and I definitely did not do this on my own steam. I've had a lot of helping hands that have said that yes, it's time to find out what does that mean, Tracy? I sing because I'm free. And once they start to hear it and listen to the history, they too will understand why I sing.
Yeah. And how much is it for people who are who will
Wanting
be
to come?
coming? Yeah.
It's $30 a ticket. So, and a 2-hour show. You can't get that much entertainment for
Mm-hmm.
Pretty,
$30
pretty
anymore.
inexpensive.
Live
It's really
band,
Live band. Yeah.
choir,
Well,
Tracy Lee.
one thing we've been discussing on this show for a period of time, for so many times, is that now we love the three of us. We don't believe in playbacks. We want live band
yeah.
stand behind you, doing what you have to do. So you know what? If you're a listener, or if you are viewing us right now, then having a live band and then having that presentation, I think is going to be wonderful, wonderful. So get the tickets fast and don't let it go like hotcakes. And then you know what? Like I always say that if you have a story to tell and you don't tell the story yourself, and you get somebody else to tell the story for you, it becomes history, not her story.
Yeah.
So you know what?
Mhm.
If you are out there, please go listen to this. There's a lot to learn from from Tracy and from today we can access any history or any narrative or what have you on your cell phones. But now Tracy is appearing in person, live in person. With the band there, so you know what? I will entreat everybody out there to go and listen to what the presentation, and I think it's going to be awesome. And we cannot thank you enough because we've dedicated this month to Canadian artists, and I think we are enjoying what we are seeing right now. And well, thank you for coming on. I'll pass it on to Petraa.
Yeah,
Thank
most
you.
definitely. Tracy, it's been a pleasure to have you on Highway 6 to Africa. It's been more than a
My pleasure.
pleasure for you sharing your story. We're excited for you for tomorrow. Is there any final words you'd like to share with your listeners worldwide, to the young people listening, to the little Tracy Lees out there?
You know that little voice in me that keeps on saying, keep on going. You belong here. Your ancestors belonged here. And keep telling their stories. Don't stop. Because you do not want it to be buried anymore. It's time to rise up and just let people hear about the amazing history that we've got, where we've come from, how we have been able to survive, because it wasn't always easy. But we are resilient people. We will keep on going, and I will keep telling my stories as long as I have breath in my body.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
And where can listeners connect with you, learn more about you, like what are your social media handles, website? Yeah, definitely share it with them.
So my website is tracylee.ca. So TracyLee.ca. If you are ever looking to book me for a presentation, that's how you're going to hold of me. You can see what I've done. You can see what I do. And let's connect and figure out how we're going to keep these stories going.
Fantastic. So thank you, folks. We've been joined by the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Tracy Lee. She's definitely leaving a lasting impression, inspiring so many people all over the world and sharing the stories of our ancestors and the Black people that have collaborated and definitely made a huge difference, in this country. So I just want to say thank you all for tuning in to Highway 6 to Africa. We'll be back again next week with another wonderful guest. I'll be joined by Ron Malinga, TYB. Is anything you both want to say before we depart?
I'll say a special Hello to hospital patients, shut-ins, and those who are stuck at home. I hope you're enjoying the show, and we thank you for being with us.
Well, over here, I think Ron has made me upset, but with Tracy coming on, to talk to us, I'm okay. So you know what? if you drink, don't drive. If you drive, don't drink. That's my message to travelers and drivers out there. Thank you.
I love that. And again, I can't wait to see who wins between what's it, the Vancouver who and the Toronto what?
Vancouver Canucks and the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, that's what it is, Tracy.
I'm taking my hands off. I'm taking my hands off. No.
Yeah.
I'm drinking water and I'm minding my business. Yes.
They play in a couple hours from now. So.
All right, we shall see. We'll be here next week to see who won.
Right. Exactly. We'll have a fight.
There we go. He'll wear his shirt backwards when it comes next week, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I try backwards as well.
Wear my hat backwards.
Yeah, it's still blue. It's all good.
Awesome. So thank you folks for tuning in. It's been a fantastic, fantastic show. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend wherever you are all over the world. Stay safe, stay great, and lots of love from Love Bay. Bye, Love Bay family.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Bye.